Athens, 375 BC. The Agora. A man goes before the Agora and he talks about a better world in which the smartest of us would lead us, the people who could understand the real and permanent truth that exists beyond our common understanding. It would be a new and better world led by the guardian class. And a man stands up and says, Plato, this sounds awful. Like, really awful. And by philosopher kings, you mean like you, right? And you really think us dummies sit and watch shadows all day? Fast forward ahead to the French Revolution. Robespierre is defending the terror by citing the general will. This same figure pops up again and says, by general will, you mean like yours, right? Fast forward again to the Bolshevik Revolution. People say to Lenin, you know, I don't know if you're seeing this, but your system makes good people into suckers and sociopaths it gives them superpowers, right? And then fast forward again to the Nazis, and someone stands up and says, so you guys think you're really into evolution and you don't understand biodiversity? And sometimes these people manage to survive because instead of saying any of this stuff, they stand up and instead say, I don't want to get guillotined. Anybody else want to move to the United States? And a lot of us are descended from these very types of people. I am, for one. And why do I bring this weirdo up? Because he is us. He is people like people in this room. People who do not like the arrogance of power. People who do not like the idea that someone who thinks they're smarter than us is going to tell us what to say or what to think. It's the personality that brings us all together. So one thing that all the weirdos that I work at FIRE have in common is we hate bullies. So what is our job? Our job is to fight the guardians, now and forever. And the problem is, of course, that a lot of times this is a population that self-elects in every generation, the ones who are going to save us from ourselves. That we have to, and weirdly enough, they oftentimes claim to speak for the people, which doesn't really work. The funny thing is they usually do a magic where they talk about, oh, I speak for the people. I mean, maybe these people over there, they're the real people. You might have false consciousness or something. And whenever you hear this, and it's very important to say today, when someone says that they claim to speak for the people, you should say to them, why don't you let the people speak for themselves? That is the wisdom of the First Amendment. So what do we get? As we celebrate free speech, as we celebrate the First Amendment, we should remember what we fight for, because the fight is getting harder, but we need to remember why we fight for it. So what does free speech give us? Free speech does not give us certainty, and that's a good thing. Certainty is a dangerous illusion. But it does give us richness, it does give us complexity, it does give us nuance, it does give us awe if we're lucky. And it gives us the only chance we'll ever have to know the world as it really is. And what does it give it? What does free speech give us? It's better than civility? Candor and authenticity. Authenticity, the one thing you cannot be yourself if you're not allowed to speak. Censorship is a tactic used over and over again in which societies use to lie to themselves that they're just fine. And that's why I've joked for years that censorship is like taking Xanax for syphilis. It makes you feel a little better about your horrible disease, but your horrible disease keeps getting worse. So what else can free speech give you that the guardians can't? Individuality. You can't have individuality without freedom of speech. And there's a cynicism that often goes with this. Just remember that when people talk about being unique individuals and we have all of this kind of putting people into group, remember, your individual uniqueness is a scientific and mathematical fact, not some goofy poetic vision. It's literally true, and never let someone take that away from you. So, on the other side, none of us are all that smart. individually, except for maybe Steve Pinker, who's here tonight. But if we stay curious, intellectually humble, and keep talking to each other, we can know a billion times more than any lone human being. It'll be messy, it'll be strange, it'll sometimes troubling, but I'd rather live in the real world with the unruly and ever-evolving lot of you than to live in the dreary conformity of any utopia. I want nothing to do with utopia. It's a place where humans can't go and stay fully human. The chaotic paradise, the loud, creative cacophony of a free people is where I want to be. And now brings me to the most important part of my night. I want to thank everybody. First of all, I want to thank our staff. When we decided a couple of years ago that we were going to do this massive expansion, we definitely knew we'd be pressing our limits, and I can't tell you how proud my staff and my team has made me tonight and every day that we've taken this on. I'd particularly like to thank Alicia Glennon, our COO, Malvi and Ashley, all of who did incredible work on this, but the entire team. When we announced this incredible project that we're going to be expanding off campus, it was like we were afraid that everybody would be terrified. And instead, we got this clear look in people's eyes, and he said, yes, that's where we're going. It was great. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our speakers and our supporters. All of you who support us, even just by word of mouth, changed the field for us. And so far, in our effort to raise $75 million over 3 years, we're already at $45 million with the first year barely over. So the enthusiasm for this, for freedom of speech, is real. People want free speech back. And I want you to go out there and fight for it every day. Thank you.